And we are live. Welcome everybody to the last episode of the season of Blue Collar Game Day, full edition. Sadly, folks, this is our last day with football for quite a long time. Not sadly, I do have my good friend Andrew Kahn with me today. First time on the show, I think. All year.
This year, man.
Wow.
Golly, dude.
How are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. Had a great night of fights last night. UFC 284 delivered and then some, so it was a really good card. I am pumped as shit that it is Super Bowl Sunday. I am excited to talk a little football. I'm excited to talk a little Hall of Fame action. I'm excited to talk about, well, fucking anything, really.
I mean, pretty much just all football today anyway.
Love it.
Like Andrew mentioned, we might as well talk about the 2023 Hall of Fame class has been announced. We have not a bad class. We have Zach Thomas from the Dolphins, Joe Thomas, offensive tackle, DeMarcus Ware, Darrelle Revis, Rondé Barber, Don Coryell, Chuck Howley, Joe Klecko, and Ken Riley. I don't have any beef with this class except for Zach Thomas. I'll get to that. So Joe Thomas, easy Hall of Famer. DeMarcus Ware,
Easy.
Yeah, slam dunk Hall of Famer. I mean, I know you're a Cowboys fan. I'll say that as someone who's never rooted for the Cowboys. DeMarcus Ware, before he even went to Denver, you were like,
Monster.
okay, this guy's a Hall of Famer. And then he goes to Denver. He's on that 2015 defense. Wins a Super Bowl. Yeah, Hall of Famer. Easy. Rondé Barber, easy Hall of Famer. I was actually a little questionable on him just because that's now the fourth player from the 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers inducted in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Which I think is like a lot for one defense. I looked at Rondé Barber's stats, and it's kind of hard to argue. Again, 47 interceptions, 28 sacks. That's
Nuts.
Yeah. So I won't argue against Rondé Barber. Darrelle Revis, I mean, come on. It's no. Anyone who doesn't think Darrelle Revis is a Hall of Famer, I'm not going to have a conversation with you. I don't think there's anyone who's arguing that.
It's a ridiculous statement if you do.
Zach Thomas was a good player. Zach Thomas was a very good player. A four-time first-team All-Pro. 1,700 tackles in his career, 20 and a half sacks. I don't think Zach Thomas screams Hall of Fame to me. I don't know how you feel.
I've been weighing after I saw the initial lineup, and I said it's a pretty balanced roster this year when it comes to the Hall of Fame. And I used the key balance because not a lot of those guys, like Rondé Barber, is like he flirted with being a Hall of Famer. He was good, but flirted with being a Hall of Famer.
Flirted with it.
Those Tampa Bay teams were not great, but he excelled on a team that wasn't phenomenal, right?
And they had that. I look back. Say this about Tampa Bay. Sorry to cut you off.
No, absolutely.
They were great for 1 year.
Yeah, so statistically solid for 1 year.
They put four of these guys in the Hall of Fame already.
Yeah, I think
how many players so far are in the Hall of Fame from the 2000s Patriots? Two.
I was gonna say I think it's just two.
Tyler and Richard Seymour.
Right.
And so you're gonna put Brady and Vinatieri from that class, but like I think that's a little unbalanced there.
And I'm
dominated that decade.
I'm actually quite surprised that Vinatieri wasn't put in this year. just with everything that's going on with the FanDuel stuff, with Gronk and all that other stuff. So I figured they were going to put him in for sure. But nonetheless, he's there in like next year for sure. He's got to be eligible next year because he just finished playing. So yeah, that's dumb on my part.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about what year he actually retired.
Yeah, so I mean, realistically, like I said, it's a very balanced class. It's a good class. It's a strong class. Zach Thomas is an oddball for me, but at the same time, like I said, statistically, it just seems nowadays if you do something just a little above and beyond statistically for like 2 or 3 good seasons, you're going to get put into the Hall of Fame. It's not what it used to be where the best player got in because they were the best players.
It's getting a little watered down.
It is. It's just like the MLB too, and it's no different than hockey. Like, I mean, the NHL this year, even I'm a Henrik and Daniel Sedin fan till the day I die. I'm a diehard Canuck fan. Do I think that they deserve to be in the NHL Hall of Fame statistically? Yes. Did they ever win a Stanley Cup? No. And I think that's what's supposed to put you into the Hall of Fame are champions. That makes you a solidified great. I know people will argue with that stat with me, and there's a lot of people in the Hall of Fame that don't have.
Sport
it's a team
and all
sport,
that.
absolutely. But if you're looking at individual accomplishments that get you into the Hall of Fame to get you that jacket, I'm like, yeah, Zach Thomas. I don't know. I just
see it. Well, and so one of my things is, it's a team sport. But if you're that great of a middle linebacker, you're a Hall of Fame middle linebacker. At some point, you would have been on a great defense, right?
True. Very true.
So what were the great defenses of the late 90s or the early 2000s when Zach Thomas was playing? The New England Patriots and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
True.
I'm going to actually bring this up now that they put in Zach Thomas. Teddy Bruschi played at the exact same time as him.
Yeah, and he's not in yet.
So, I don't even think Teddy Bruschi is a Hall of Famer. But now if they put Zach Thomas,
I was going to say, if you're looking at resumes,
Teddy Bruschi had 10 more sacks than Zach Thomas. He had less tackles, but he had 10 more sacks.
And won 4 championships.
Super Bowl 5 more times.
Yeah.
Zach Thomas never went to a Super Bowl. By the way, I'll welcome Ernest Silva to the show.
Hello, Ernest.
Hi, guys.
Hey, it's Brother Ernest.
I feel like Zach Thomas is I don't know. I feel like it's forcing it a little bit. And they put him in over Patrick Willis, which
is crazy.
Absolutely insane to me. If any of the linebackers were going to get in off this class, it should have been Patrick Willis.
Patrick Willis is one of the most dominant linebackers of all time. So it's just crazy that they didn't even consider him in. I don't know. It's the same thing. Like you could even talk, I'm sure we'll probably talk about NFL awards coming up. And I was just like, I'm flabbergasted by some of the things that are going on in the NFL at the moment.
I mean, Roger Goodell did say the officiating is the best it's ever been. So
yeah, that's a hot take.
That is the definition of a hot take.
I mean, in my blue collar career, I have taken some pretty nasty hot takes. That is probably number one, and I'm not shitting you.
Tony Pollard over Christian McCaffrey was definitely
that was a hot take, but I was saying comparable players at the time for the teams. I did reiterate.
Right.
That was a pretty hot take, Andrew.
They both went to the same part, which is not the Super Bowl, so it doesn't really matter.
That is very true. We're all watching with us today.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Ernest, how do you feel about the Hall of Fame class?
At this point, Teddy Bruschi's a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. So So I used to have this rule. I think I've said it on this show. I've said it on my show for sure. It said if you have enough highlight plays, the NFL puts you in the Hall of Fame because they just want to run a reel of you in Canton. But Patrick Willis has tons of tape. You can be in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
And that would be my. Yeah. So, and Teddy Bruschi does too. So that rule for this class, I mean, it doesn't take effect. And for me, it's DeMarcus Ware and then everybody else. No bias there. But
DeMarcus Ware had to be inducted. I said that before you jumped on. Not a Cowboys fan. DeMarcus Ware was easy Hall of Famer.
Easy.
Awesome. Yeah. So like there were some questionable things. I'm glad we're going to talk awards too, because I want to talk about the awards. I have work, so I'm excited to be here. Excited to be pulling a Sunday shift. I am playing dad duty at the same time, so I won't have a camera for today's episode. But I am here and glad to share the scene with you guys.
The voice of ITL, ladies and gentlemen.
So I'm pulling up the Patrick Willis's career to compare to Zach Thomas. Now, I will say Zach Thomas played a lot longer, so he did have nearly 1,000 more tackles than Patrick Willis, but in a 7-year career, Patrick Willis is a 5-time first-team All-Pro.
That's disgusting.
Including Defensive Rookie of the Year, including going to a Super Bowl, and has just as many sacks as Zach Thomas did.
That's insane, dude.
In a 13-year career. I mean, you play 7 years and 5 of them you're a first-team All-Pro, and you go to the Super Bowl, one of them, it's
a banana stat.
That's a Hall of Famer to me. I mean, Zach Thomas only has 4 first-team All-Pros. So in less playing time, Patrick Willis had more.
It's insane. Patrick Willis, I don't want to say he came in at a perfect time, but he did, man. He was an absolute monster in that middle linebacker position. And honestly, you just mentioned the stat of he's played less games and still had a significant more impact on the game, which is insane. And he retired on his own. He literally was I'm not doing this forever, right? It's kind of it's honestly kind of like the Calvin Johnson effect, where Megatron's I think my best years are behind me. I'm not going to continue to play just because I'm a name, right? And Patrick Willis did the same thing. And he was pretty much one of the first defenders to be that way. Maybe I'm wrong by saying that, but I think he was hey, my longevity and my health is a big thing for me. I've done everything I can do. I've been to the Super Bowl. I'm a 5-time Pro Bowler. I think that screams Hall of Fame already, but
yeah, I'd put him in over Zach Thomas anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and let's not get it wrong. Patrick Willis will be in the Hall of Fame more than likely next year.
Yeah, I mean, so I believe, yes, I think this might have been his first year.
It's his first year of eligibility.
Okay, so maybe it's a little different. I know a lot of people are complaining that Devin Hester didn't get in yet. I do believe that Devin Hester belongs in the Hall of Fame. I firmly believe there's a place for special teamers in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
But he's only been eligible for 2 years. He was a kick returner. He doesn't need to go in on his first ballot. The fact that he's not in after 2 years of eligibility isn't a slight on Devin Hester. I also
think it's a bit of the who's allowing or who's choosing players to go in era also, because the value of the special teams wasn't there for some of these old timers, right? And so now you get that true value of what that dynamic player would do. And Cordero Patterson's changing it even more, right? Showing, there's a spot for special teamers even in a regular offensive role. And so now you see teams incorporating special teams guys into their offensive systems a lot more. But Devin Hester, to me, I'm one of those that thought probably if this was 20 years from now, he's probably a first ballot Hall of Famer, because we're going to hold special teams to a different regard then. But because of the era that's now currently judging, I think we're just a subject to that. I mean, he probably will get in next year or the year after, but he's definitely a Hall of Famer, hands down.
Right.
Change the game.
So since Devin Hester's we all agree Devin Hester's a Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
Someone who's probably retiring this year. Matthew Slater, Hall of Fame?
Yep.
Best special teams player.
First ballot.
Not first ballot.
First ballot. He's a gunner. He's a special team player. Not looking for a first ballot. But
no, I wouldn't say not first ballot, but I think he should definitely make the Hall of Fame as a special teams player. He's been electric, so.
I mean, I'd say he's probably the best special team player. for a decade.
Yeah, that's what you have to carve out, right? Like you have to say it's okay to be a special teams guy, like that's my role. And then if you excelled and you were the elite or best at it, or you have the stats to show you're all world, right? Then you belong in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and I think Devin Hester did that. Devin Hester was like, okay, I'm a kick return guy. I'm going to return kicks, and I'm going to be really fucking good at it.
You know, he was too small to he was too small to be an impactful wide receiver back then. Now, obviously, the game has changed a ton. And he just wasn't like you think about it, he's the same size as a CD Lamb, right? Like he's in that era, that wasn't very big. Like that's not a big wide receiver. That's a small guy. Like you're lining up against like guys like Andre Johnson and Megatron and like the monsters, like freaks of nature as wide receivers. So he didn't fit that criteria. Nowadays, like if Devin Hester played in this, would he be more than a punt returner? Likely. Yeah. But I mean, for the impact that he had, for how small of a person he was, I mean, he did exactly what he was told to do and was unbelievable at it.
Yeah, like for a while there, right? Antonio Brown was returning kicks and returning punts. So
exactly.
Like you had guys fulfilling both roles, and then the whole injury thing came up, and so you stopped using your dynamic players in one capacity. It just so happened the Bears said, we're going to keep you in special teams.
Yeah,
right? They tried to do the Cordell Patterson role where they kind of mixed him in, and it was working for a while, but then he got injury prone. So they said, no, we're just going to keep you on special teams. So that's just the choice the franchise made. And he had to agree to it. Obviously, he made that choice, but now you won't be first ballot, right? You're not going to have stats.
Yeah, you can, and that's exactly it. You can change the game for us in that moment, but it's not going to, like you said, the injury thing. It was always so tough for Hester. Like it just seemed near the end of it. I mean, the last probably 3 or 4 years, it was random hamstrings all the time. And I'm just like, oh man, as a punt returner, that's your bread and butter. And he changed the game in so many ways for them with one simple return. So I get what you're saying, and I agree fully.
Yeah, so I guess we'll enough for the Hall of Fame talk. We'll jump on to the awards. I know Ernest said he wasn't happy here. I don't think either of you guys are happy. I think I know about which award.
Crock-a-poo.
So the MVP, Patrick Mahomes. I don't think there's any debate there. That was an easy MVP award. They put up better stats than he did last year without Tyreek Hill. So yeah. I'm assuming this is the one you guys are mad about. Defensive Player of the Year, Nick Bosa. You guys wanted Parsons?
This is such a crapshoot, man. Nick Bosa is, yes, obviously one of the best defensive players in the goddamn league. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you saw that safety that he almost gave up to Jalen Hurts the other weekend, and I was like, holy shit, Nick Bosa's for real. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to slander Nick Bosa. But what I'm going to slander is the fact that Micah Parsons didn't get a single fucking vote for Defensive Player of the Year. What are we doing?
Well, so I'm gonna if you're mad that Micah Parsons didn't get a single vote. Matthew Judon had two more sacks than Micah Parsons on the year,
and I'm in Judon's quarter.
But Matthew Judon didn't get a vote either.
What are we doing?
I think I actually agree on the Nick Bosa being Defensive Player of the Year because 18.5 sacks is pretty ridiculous. And wasn't he hurt for a couple of games?
Yeah, like 1 or 2 or something like that.
This year, and he still put up 18.5 sacks.
He missed a game and a half. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's fucking ridiculous.
Oh no, I'm saying, I'm not saying that he does not deserve it. I'm saying you need to shake your fucking head if you don't think Judon and or Parsons deserved one goddamn vote.
I agree on that. Especially so Reddick got a bunch of votes too.
How does Hassan Reddick get 7 votes?
Reddick had half a sack more than Matt Judon this year. Judon not talked about it all. Sure.
Ernest, take it away.
Here's my only thing, guys. If we're going to say Defensive Player of the Year, don't judge similar players by the position because, and here I'm going to caveat with this, Nick Bosa played the defensive end position 87% of the snaps he played. Matthew Judon played the defensive end position 84% of the snaps that he played. And I knew you guys were going to throw Reddick in there because I'm upset about Reddick. Reddick played the defensive end position 96.5% of the defensive snaps he played. Micah Parsons being compared to these and other players, he played the defensive end position 62.6% of the time. And we're gonna compare his sack numbers, his defensive pressures, his tackles, when the man is literally playing one side of the field by himself outside of covering the wide receiver. And even then, Micah Parsons dropped in coverage 15% of his snaps. So I just want to let you know, the reason I'm upset is because if we're going to call a defensive player of the year, then we need to take about all wholesome defensive stats. We're talking about defensive block, coverage protections, or like I want to do a full, and I agree. I think Bosa is the winner. I'm not even going to debate. I thought Bosa was defensive player of the year because he was outstanding at his position. But don't compare the two and call them both Diet Coke if one is actually Dr. Pepper and one is Diet Coke, and you're just going to give it to the better syrup flavored Diet Coke. I know I'm just throwing it out there.
I do understand your argument. It's because it's defensive play that. Yeah, I get what you're saying. You said about the stats, especially because like the Parsons drops in a coverage. So Bosa actually had an interception this year, and Parsons didn't. Which
he made Tom Brady.
I'm not putting that in as a knock on Parsons at all. I'm just saying. I mean both had.
But you're not. You're taking it. If you watch the game, and you're going to force interceptions or you're forcing turnovers, Dallas Cowboys ranked in the top 5 for turnovers forced in the NFL. That is because of Micah Parsons. I'm not saying Judon didn't have an effect. I'm just saying Matthew Judon and Micah Parsons both carry defense. I guess Hassan Reddick too, right? Carry defenses that turned the ball over. So all these players talking about had defenses that were top 10 defenses, had defenses that were turning the ball over. But we talk about pressure, like when you look at the stat sheet and you're talking about like, oh, individual stats, you had Micah Parsons facing 2-3 guys every snap.
Being
like there
held
was no
on every snap.
There was no snap he played, not even snaps where they were running the ball. He was still double teamed. And I'm just saying, if we let him pin his ears back, and this could be Dan Quinn's fault. I'm just saying, you let him pin his ears back, put him in one position. I wouldn't doubt Micah Parsons has 20 sacks and deflects the ball maybe 20 more times and is just outstanding. But we didn't. We needed him to play other positions, whether it was injuries, whether it was we wanted to keep the offense guessing or what he was going to do. Whatever Dallas's scheme was, it was detrimental to stats. And if stats are the only reason we're going to give players the Hall of Fame, well, then we just need Micah Parsons to play one position really, really well and then hamper our defense. But that's not what we were trying to do. Nick Bosa plays his position really, really well, but the 49ers defense as a whole.
Yeah, Fred Wagner back there.
Yeah. So healthy Fred Wagner.
So I'm actually gonna to agree with you guys on this. You said Reddick carried out the Eagles defense, and is Reddick as good? Is Reddick getting as many sacks on that Eagles defense if he doesn't also have Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham up there?
Well, and that's exactly it.
And Darius Slay
and Darius Johnson.
I think that's a loaded Eagles defense that I think is a great defense because they play collective will together. And I think Hassan Reddick had a great season. But to your point, Parsons is the reason that the Cowboys have a great defense.
Right. That's what I don't have the stats to it.
The Patriots have a bunch of good players, but Judon brings that Patriots defense to another level. He brought them to another level last year because we haven't had a pass rushing guy in so long. Belichick's never had a guy in pass
True. Very true.
And Bosa does it too. Like, that's what I'm saying. Those three players, and Watt, right? Like, if we're just gonna talk all players. TJ Watt also, right? Another example of a player that offenses must focus 2 or 3 guys on, because they can afford to do that. Whereas somebody like Reddick, who has all these players, who gets the extra 1 or 2 seconds in the pocket to attack because Darius Slay is back there guarding their best receiver. The Cowboys don't have that. The Cowboys don't have, and the Patriots don't have that.
The argument, I mean, and I get what you're saying. I think the argument can be made with the whole like Diggs thing in the backfield. Like, he's equally as good as Slay. But if you look on the other side, CJ Gardner-Johnson, who has been like, you think about the Cowboys, right? The one thing that we really, really lacked this year. I mean, Xavier Rhodes had to come in the playoffs after being cut from the Colts and the Vikings to come into our system because we just didn't have that other secondary corner. That's why the Eagles are in the Super Bowl today. That is why their defense is elite. And I agree with you. If you're lining up onto one primary position, which has become the sole focus of, Nick Bosa's career or Hassan Reddick's, Micah Parsons makes your defense as a whole better because you can send him in the middle. You can send him on a blitz. You can send him, he's played lockdown coverage at times this year, dropping back, like you said, 15%. To me, if we're living in an era of statistical football, which is what we are doing, how do you not look at that analysis and go, okay, well, like, I agree with you, Ernest. You said if he would have lined up at DE and played that position and played 97%, Parsons has 25 sacks this year. Like, right? And if we're looking at analytics, that's my biggest issue with the NFL is that we're glorifying the sport for like 18 and a half sacks. Nothing against Nick Bosa. You should have 18 and a half sacks when you're lining up there 89% of the time. The fact that Parsons was getting double teamed and had 13 and a half sacks this year and literally only played 60%, to me, analytically, that's unbelievable.
I also, if you're going to compare stats and you compare stats off the field, I would love to see what offenses did when Nick Bosa was off, when Micah Parsons was off, when Reddick was off, when Judon was off. How efficient were the offenses when they were off the field? And that should be an indicator of impact as well.
And I agree with you. And I would also say that if you look at San Francisco's run before they got to play us in the playoffs, right? They're averaging 35 and a half points a game. We held them to 19. And that is because Parsons was a constant force on that fucking defense. So I agree with you. I know analytics just seem to play the biggest role. It's not overall the best player that you see line up every game. It's always going to be analytics, and it's starting to drive me bananas.
Oh yeah, well, anytime we talk about analytics driving people crazy, I have to agree because analytics fucking
man.
I'm an analytics person. Even and everybody knows me from my show, right? The Houston Rockets, all about analytics, all about the numbers, all about stuff. Even I'm like, come on now.
I'm flabbergasted.
Have their place. People just. My problem with analytics is sometimes I feel like some of these analytics people just look at these analytics and don't actually watch
the game.
And that's and not all of football can be broken down on a spreadsheet.
Right. 1,000%.
So we have Justin Jefferson, Offensive Player of the Year.
Without a doubt.
No one has any argue with that.
No, that was the right pick.
It is absolutely the right pick.
We have Sauce Gardner, it's Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Called it on ITL.
Easy pick. I still think his name is a little weird, Sauce, but whatever.
It's awesome.
So actually, the Jets have 2 award winners. They also have the Offensive Rookie of the Year in Garrett Wilson, which I think it's just funny that, like, the Jets, this is like the best year that they could have possibly had. They have 2 award winners. They finished last in the division, didn't sniff the playoffs, and realized that their franchise quarterback sucks.
Yeah, what a turn of events. I mean,
yes.
Enter Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, enter Aaron Rodgers, which is going to make this team unbelievable. I know he's going on this blackout vision quest or whatever the hell he's on right now, but he's so broken, man. He's such a weird guy. But honestly, I think we talked about this, Ernest, on ITL a little bit. I said there's going to be two options that are going to win this, and they both played on the same team. It's either going to be Garrett Wilson or it's going to be Chris Olave. And I mean that college-wise, that they played on the same team. I said either one of those guys is deserving for Rookie of the Year. So I'm happy to see the Jets have some kind of relevancy in the NFL and have two outstanding rookies who are corner blocks for them. Do not kid yourself. Garrett Wilson is going to be a monster, and Sauce Gardner is arguably already top 10 best cornerbacks in the league.
Oh, Sauce God is a top 10 corner in the league. I won't do that. I was wishing he'd follow the fucking Patriots somehow.
Defensive Rookie of the Year, I think, fantastic. I really feel Offensive Rookie of the Year could have gone a number of ways, and I'm not exactly sold that just because somebody is healthy, they win the award. Because that's essentially what happened.
Olave missed what, 2-3 games?
He actually missed 4.5.
And still put up 1,000 yards.
Yeah. So, like, to me, Chris Olave is my Offensive Rookie of the Year just from an impact standpoint. And I take it from history. When it comes to Offensive Defensive Year awards, it's your impact on the field, how much you influence win percentage. And to me, Chris Olave was a bigger piece to that than Garrett Wilson was, just how bad a season the Jets had.
Yeah, I'd agree on that.
I do like Chris Olave. Now, I do feel for somebody because if I was picking the awards, they would have won, I think, close to $1 million on a $5 bet because they picked every award right except for Chris Olave. So I feel for them, whoever that is. Shout out to you if there's some chance you're coming across the show. I think you had it right, my man. Sorry about that. But Kenneth Walker was also great.
Very true.
He had a great year. Again, if he's not hurt, I think he has a chance to win the award. I just felt it was like who's healthy the most type of way of giving the Offensive Rookie of the Year award, and I wasn't too big on that.
I mean, if you're Seattle, you're licking your lips. You're so excited because you actually have a running back. You haven't had one since fucking beast mode. So, I mean, it's been, what, 10 years of irrelevant running backs back there?
Before that, they didn't have one. They hadn't had one since Sean Alexander.
Well, and that's it. Like, people are like, oh, Chris Carson. I'm like, no disrespect to Chris Carson. He had one good year.
I'm not going to forget about that the running back in New York, too. Like, he was phenomenal. I forget his name off the top of my head. But he was phenomenal, too, to start.
He got hurt. Breece Hall.
Breece Hall. Yeah. He was phenomenal. Like,
honestly, he probably plays the full year. He probably wins it. He was like 190 yards a game. It was nuts.
I was actually him over Walker or Olave. If we were saying injuries don't matter, like that guy was.
Yeah, Breece Hall was a monster, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like no one started really mentioning Garrett Wilson until after Breece Hall got hurt, and Garrett Wilson started going. Which, I mean, good for him. He got his opportunity and he took advantage of it. But Breece Hall was where they were going with that offense until we got hurt. And then they were like, okay, well, Garrett Wilson.
We're going to target you 10 times a game. Please make at least 9 of these catches for at least 130 yards each game because we need it.
Probably helps Garrett Wilson is how many different quarterbacks he played with.
Yeah.
Yeah, it helps out. Yeah, I mean, it's the best. You play with at least 3 different starting quarterbacks.
If Aaron Rodgers.
Sorry, go ahead. I think Andrew, you and I are about to make the same point, so go ahead.
I was going to say, if Aaron Rodgers comes to New York, I mean, Garrett Wilson, you think he had a monster year this year? Wait till the thing with Rodgers is he loves the deep ball, and he can still throw it. Damn, can he still throw it, right? Like, let's look at the yards that he gave to Christian Watson this year on deep balls. But, I mean, he's going to have an unbelievable arsenal of players to use this year. So Garrett Wilson might actually double his production with a quarterback who's actually a viable number 1 quarterback in this league.
That was where I was going to go. If you thought Dobbs and Watson had a fantastic year, just wait till next year with the Jets. Aaron Rodgers does go there. Just wait for that.
And he still won't win the division.
No.
But they'll be in the playoffs.
They'll probably finish 3rd in the division.
They probably make the playoffs.
Yeah, which I guess would be a crowning accomplishment for the Jets.
Big time.
It'd be the NFC East of next year.
For sure. It's a strong division. If Aaron Rodgers goes there.
Hey, you still got...
If it's Derek Carr.
Bill O'Brien, Adrian, joining the Patriots.
Derek Carr to the Jets makes the most sense.
It does, but it won't happen because he's going to go to the Texans.
Sure, Ernest loves that idea.
God, I hope so. You know, I've
Really?
actually been wanting Derek Carr to go to the Texans. That's not a surprise. I wanted to see the pass off from one brother to another.
At the Carr brothers.
Yeah, I wanted to see that name again.
So let's jump into our Super Bowl picks, right? Imagine that I already know who both of you are picking because I don't think either of you can allow yourselves to pick one of these teams. So, Andrew, I'm going to start with you. Who do you got?
Bias aside, man, I think the Eagles are going to win it today. I hate admitting it, but when I look at overall team presence right now, I'm looking at everybody saying, well, Jalen Hurts might be still hurt. I'm like, I don't think so, guys. He's looked pretty fucking spectacular, especially his last two outings. Now, I know San Fran didn't have a quarterback. They had 5 of them. But, I mean, realistically, you look at what Jalen Hurts has accomplished this year and how well of a team and how, like, I hate Nick Sirianni more than anybody else in this world, but he's got them playing ball. But he's got them playing ball on both sides of the field, man. He's got that team built around him. I know everybody's like, well, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is 40% right now. If you're telling yourself Patrick Mahomes is fully healthy, you're an idiot. That injury is 6 to 8 weeks is what the timeline is, and he's playing 8 days after. Every time he's throwing that ball out of the pocket, he's hobbling. We just talked about Hassan Reddick. This is Hassan Reddick's game. If he puts a little bit of pressure on Patrick, this is going to be a tough night for Mahomes. Plus, we just talked about it. Darius Slay and CJ Gardner-Johnson are going to be at the end. And who are they guarding? I know that Darius is probably going to lock down most of the time on Travis Kelce. But at this point, McCole Hardman's gone. Like everybody's hurt on that. Every single dude on that, Kadarius Toney's going in with an injury. Like everybody that's on the wide receiving core in Kansas City has some kind of question beside them, and they are banged up, which scares me because I know how much Patrick relies on that speed outs, and he doesn't have that right now. So for me, realistically, I think if you're the Eagles, you have to take advantage of this game early and very, very often. Also, run the frickin' ball. Kansas City has not been good against the run. People will fight me on that, but if you watch the playoffs so far, they have not been great. They have not been great. So I think everything, to me, I hate admitting this, but I do think the Eagles win the Super Bowl today.
All right. I like your take there. Ernest, what do you got?
For baby bowl circumstances, I need the Eagles to go off today, so I'm hoping the Eagles win. For that reason alone, yeah, baby, we will. But if
hi Lily,
yeah, everybody says hi, baby. So I'm picking the Chiefs to win today. Yeah, baby, I'm picking the Chiefs to win today. I think that they pull it out in a very close match. They had 26 people on the injury report. However, they have nobody on the injury report as of this morning. I don't know how that's possible, but
that's
game time, baby.
So everybody's playing.
Cortisone.
Besides Hardman, of course. Besides Hardman. But I think it's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to be a 3-point game, a game-winning field goal. I think it's going to be classic. I think Mahomes puts another thing on his Hall of Fame resume that he's trying to build, even though some people say he's already in, like Peyton Manning, which is ridiculous. And I'm taking the Chiefs to win this one, but I'm hoping it's high stats because I have like 4 Eagles players on my baby bowl team. So go Eagles, go stat-wise, but go Chiefs for the win. Chiefs Kingdom.
So I am going with the Eagles for a lot of the same reasons that Andrew is. You brought up Mahomes being hobbled and that defensive front of the Eagles. Not just Hassan Reddick, man, like we were talking about with the awards there. Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham are going to get after you too, which I actually played. It was plus 195 for Brandon Graham to get over 0.75 sacks. So 1 sack for Brandon Graham, plus 195.
Like those odds.
Yeah, I like that as well. Brandon Graham plays good in Super Bowls. I've personally seen it. And you talked about the Chiefs' run defense. Yeah, it's not that great. The reason that the Chiefs' run defense might look good at times is because no one runs the ball on the Chiefs because the Chiefs get a lead and the Chiefs control the pace of the game with the way Patrick Mahomes plays. days and all that, and you need to try to keep up.
Yeah.
What the Eagles, I think the Eagles can run the ball on fucking anybody. That offensive line is absolutely monstrous. I love the Eagles. I hate both these teams. I really do. I really hate both these teams.
Same.
But that Eagle, I love the way the Eagles play football this year. And I say that as somebody with nothing but hatred for the Philadelphia Eagles. I love the way this team plays because all they want to do is punch you in the mouth. So I think the Eagles' strengths in this game are going to play into the Chiefs' weaknesses. Mahomes is going to be a little hobble. He's not going to be as fast. And the Eagles are going to get after you. The Eagles want to get after you. They want to rush you. They're going to rush you. So I like that. And when you start talking about a team that's going to run the ball all day, you start talking about controlling the clock.
Yeah.
Now, what's one thing that Mr. Andy Reid has always been really bad at in his career?
Clock management.
Clock management and Andy Reid, I think, is going to play a big part today. So I'm taking the Eagles today. I'm taking them I'm taking the spread at 1.5. Might as well. It's probably a field goal game, honestly. But
I'll caveat this and say that I agree with Ernest. I am not going to be surprised if if the Chiefs win. It's one of those Super Bowls where you're like, honestly, if this team wins, good. If the other team wins, saw it coming. You know what I mean? It's like it's such a split Super Bowl for me.
It's one of those Super Bowls that I want both teams to lose.
Fact. I can't stand either organization, so I'm like, whatever.
Yeah. I will say another bet I did place for today. Because if the Eagles win, he's probably going to be because he has a huge game. Miles Sanders to win Super Bowl MVP plus 2,200. I know they always give it to the quarterback. If the Eagles win this game, I don't think it's going to be because of Jalen Hurts.
That's my baby bowl guy.
If this is a shootout, then the Chiefs will win.
The one thing that worries me, and I could see why the value is so high on Miles Sanders, is that they used Kenneth Gainwell a ton against Cincinnati. Or against help me out here. I'm drawing a blank. Who did they just last play? Philadelphia. San Fran. Yeah, so they ran the ball with Gainwell a ton, and he was really effective. I think he was averaging like 13 yards a carry, which is fucking bananas. So that kind of worries me, but I like the odds at 2,200. I mean, you can definitely get some value there. I also I was looking at the DraftKings book today, and a Devontae Smith anytime touchdown is paying 385 plus 385. I'm hitting that. I think he's got to be the X factor. I think he's got to be the X factor for them today. We talked about run game and control that way. I mean, I know he technically he made the catch, but he didn't make the catch. That whole thing changed the complexity of that game against San Francisco. And he's got to be the X factor for them. So I think I like the plus 385 if we're going to talk some picks here today.
Yeah, I like that as well. I am a fan of the Juju Brown touchdown stack. That's plus 750 for those that like to play that. If you add the Miles Sanders rushing touchdown, it's plus 1350, and I think all of them score. So I encourage people.
I like that stack.
I like it a lot.
Ernest, my people will get in contact with your people.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Yeah, which means I'll be texting you after the show ends. Put that in for me.
Wire transfer.
Yeah, Venmo. Episode has been brought to you by Venmo.
So I don't know. Are you guys familiar with what Baby Bowl is?
No idea. You keep talking about it on ITL. I've never had any idea what you're talking
Is it like
about.
a playoff? Is it like the playoff bowl?
Yeah. So essentially, you use rosters every week, and then your rosters you can't use the same players twice. So you're basically guessing which teams are winning. So I went hard on Philadelphia players, and I said I'm not going to use them until Super Bowl. And then I used my Chiefs in the AFC Championship. So basically banking that Philly wins today because I have
even though
you Chiefs win, yeah. So I basically have Jalen Hurts
playing quarterback, and then I have Miles Sanders as my running back 1. My running back 2 is Jerick McKinnon. So
who could have a huge game too?
Who historically likes to play big in these situations.
Yes,
so
I was going to say.
I'm very encouraged for that. And then my wide receiver 1 is AJ Brown, and then my wide receiver 2 and 3 is Juju and MBS. So I'm really excited about MBS breaking out last week. I just didn't use him, which sucks. And then
he's going to get a ton of targets this week.
I'm hoping so. And then my tight end is Dallas Goedert. I used the Kelsey Mahomes stack last week. So I'm hoping for a big game. Now Baby Bowl is a big donation drive. So there's hundreds of people who put in money in the beginning. I think it's like $40, and then you get payout. Right now I'm in 3rd place, so I'm hoping for a big day for my players today. So I get first and I win, close to $700. That's kind of the payout. So I'm almost there, hoping to beat out the other 2 guys. I'm down 20 points going to the last game. And that's where I'm sitting. I don't know what their roster is.
I mean, your stack of dudes is nasty though.
Yeah, I'm definitely in good shape. So, and I'm up
nasty.
So be good match. Obviously, Lily wearing her Ezekiel Elliott jersey today is excited as well. So
yeah,
yep.
That girl, Lil. I have some unfortunate news, Lil. We're probably gonna have to get you a new jersey.
It's okay. I am also wearing my Prescott jersey, so we're Prescott Ezekiel Elliott as we're walking around in public today, and
I love it. It.
Yeah, it's our last day to wear a jersey, so we're gonna do it.
Yep.
I can respect that. Anyway, folks, that's all we got for you today. Don't forget this episode has been brought to you by creationsnacks.com. Use code BCMG for 20% off. Andrew, Ernest, thank you guys for coming on. Why don't you tell the folks where they can find you? At either one of you first.
You can find me on Into the Lab podcast Wednesdays at 7:30-ish, usually 7:30 on the dot, but 7:30.
Wednesdays?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Tuesdays. Yep. Tuesdays at 7:30. And sometimes we move it to Thursdays, but not Wednesdays anymore. But we, come by and check out our show. We usually catch all 3 of us on there at different times. And appreciate you having me on, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming on. Andrew?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Steve. I was glad I was able to get at least one in this year. We'll work on that next year for sure.
Listen, there's been limited episodes this season, so don't take it.
I apologize. Life's been a little crazy. Anyways, you can find me at the Boomtown Pod on Instagram, Twitter. We're almost, this is crazy. I remember when we first started this, our Boomtown account only had 100 people and I couldn't break 100 people. And I think 4 followers away from 1,000. So we're getting there. It's slowly but surely a time-consuming thing. Believe me, tried the algorithms and everything. But you can find us on there. And then, of course, tomorrow we're actually going to be going live at 7 p.m. Central. We're going to recap UFC 284. We're going to talk about some of the big fight news that's going on, including a potential Tyson Fury-Francis Ngannou fight. There's lots of and Alexander Usyk. We can't forget about that. So lots to recap. We had a winner last night. Congratulations to Grant K, who was the winner of the FKN prize pack. Follow our socials. We're doing a lot of giveaways. I don't care if you're in the States. We'll send it out to you. Just make sure to call and follow us, honestly, and we'll make sure. It was pretty easy. All you had to do was pick the winner of the fight last night, and your name got entered into the draw. So
nice. Yeah, congratulations to the winner. And be sure to check out Andrew. He's one of the best in the business for the MMA. Andrew, thanks for coming on. And you know what? Since there was a lack of you on this show this year, how about I should pop on Boomtown at some point?
Yeah, man. I would love to absolutely have you on the podcast at any time, man. We love having guests. It makes the flow of things a little bit funner, and everybody has spicy hot takes when it comes to MMA. So I know you'll have a couple, and boxing. So I can count on you for boxing.
When we get some boxing to talk about, I'm there for you.
Absolutely.
Anyway, folks, enjoy the last day of football.